I get a variety of comments on my YouTube videos, and most of them are good. Shout out to y'all. Sometimes when I pull up my YouTube, there's one type of comment that I feel like I get a little bit too often. Where is this? Now obviously, I'm not gonna give out my spots, but this made me think, what advice would I have wanted to hear when I was first starting out inshore fishing?
Alright, bro, you want me to record?
Yeah, record. Now this is the number one suggestion that I have to anybody who ever asks me, and it's the simplest one to remember, and sometimes it's the hardest one to do. That is your ABCs. Always be casting. A wise man once told me the best place to catch a fish is in the water. And obviously you can't do that if your line is not in said water. You guys like my makeshift recording setup? Anyway, as far as advice goes, there's not a much better suggestion than just cast a lot. Cast under things, over things, around things, just cast. It's basic math. The more you cast, the more chances you have at fish. Of course, it started raining. Now, number 2 is one of the most important variables when it comes to success in finding inshore fish. And one thing that embarrassingly took me way too long to understand. You need to find moving water. Now, moving water is crucial for inshore fishing because it drives bait movement, increases oxygen levels, and triggers predatory fish to feed. Tidal currents and flowing water concentrate fish in specific areas, making them more predictable and easier to target. Simply put, moving water funnels bait around structure. An easy example of this is narrow bridges. Bridges constrict the moving water, funneling bait to the predatory fish who lay in wait right outside of the current. The same can be said about all types of structure water moves through or around. Think points, mangrove lines, seagrass potholes, and docks. Alright, number 3 is a science lesson, but it is one that is hugely important to know. Now, I've been watching a ton of Dr. Stone lately, so I'm feeling pretty sciencey, but I'll do my best to keep it simple. Number 3 is understanding the tides. Tides are the rise and fall of sea levels caused by the gravitational pull of the moon and the sun, along with Earth's rotation. The moon's gravity pulls on Earth's oceans, creating a bulge of water on the side facing the moon, while a second bulge forms on the opposite side due to inertia. As Earth rotates, different coastal areas move into these bulges, causing them high and low tides. The sun also influences tides, enhancing them during full and new moons and weakening them during quarter moons. Now, why is that important? Well, remember how I was talking about moving water? The tides are what moves the water, and the more moving water, the better. For example, let's look here at the tides for next week. On Wednesday the 12th, we have a low at -0.3 and a high at 1.4. So that means during that time, the tide will change by close to 2 feet. Now that much tidal exchange leads to, you guessed it, a good amount of moving water. Now during the time the water is moving, the fish will eat. The general consensus is that the fishing is best 2 hours before the tide slacks out. Now I might upset some people with this one, but my number 4 tip is stop fishing with live bait. If you want to be a better all-around angler, you have to learn how to throw plastic. I started out tossing shrimp at mangroves. Hell, everybody probably started out tossing shrimp at mangroves. And I'm not saying that that's a bad thing, but there are clear advantages to being able to do both. Now with lures, you're actively fishing, not just waiting on a bite. It forces you to pay more attention to current flow, structure, and bait movement. Now, as well as learning the water more, it'll help you cover way more water way faster. With constantly moving, you're casting more and you're able to find more fish in more places.
Oh, that's a fish.
And lastly, and maybe most importantly, you get to skip the bait shop every morning. No finding a parking space, no waiting in line, no do I have a bucket, bait. One less stop, more time on the water. Now number 5 is a hard-earned lesson for some of our more stubborn anglers, including myself, but you have to pick the right gear. Listen, you don't need a 6,000 reel, 80-pound braid, and an extra heavy rod to chase these fish. For inshore fishing, I'm a firm believer in the medium to medium heavy rod and a reel between a 1,000 to maybe a 5,000 at the very highest. Now, is there an odd monster tarpon roaming the flats around the bay in April? Sure. Is it worth throwing your shoulder out, carrying a rod and reel the way the same as your kayak? Probably not. Don't get me wrong, there are applications for heavier rods and reels, plenty of them, but in most cases it's advantageous for you to have a lighter setup that you can cast farther and more often with less fatigue. Well, if you're still watching, then I haven't hurt your feelings about live bait fishing or taking a 10,000 reel to catch a 12-inch trout. Thanks for sticking it out. But all that leads to number 6, and that is do your homework. Now, before you hit the water, you should make sure that it's safe, you're going at the right times, and you're hitting areas that look like they could produce. Now, there's no shortage of information online that can cover all of those things, but I'll give you a quick rundown of what I do before I go out. Now, the first thing I do before I even think about hitting the water is I check the weather. I use a combination of windy.com and good old Google weather. I look to make sure I'm not going out when it's blowing a gale or 3-foot seas. I did that once, I don't recommend. Now, step 2, once I make sure the weather's fishable, I find a good area to fish. For this, I use the satellite feature on both Google Earth or Apple Maps, depending if I'm on my computer or my phone. I look for things like structure, depth, good seagrass stretches, backwater areas, basically anything that looks interesting or uncommon. After I find an area I want to target, if I'm taking my kayak, I pull up an app called Go Paddling, which shows all kayak launches in an area, or if I'm taking out the boat, then I find the closest boat ramp. So alright, we know the weather's fishable and we know where we're going. So now let's check the tides. I go out fishing when I can, but I like to make sure I'm in the right areas during the best bite times. To make sure of this, I use tidesforfishing.com. I showed y'all how to check that earlier, but just as a refresher, good tide, moving water, catch fish. Now, this is underrated and a resource I feel like a lot of anglers overlook to get better at fishing. If you doubt it, just try it. Number 7 is talk to people. A few years ago, my wife and I moved to the St. Augustine, Jacksonville area, and I knew absolutely nothing about the fishing up there. We were at Publix getting groceries the day we moved there. I saw a dude in a fishing shirt, went up to him and asked him about the fishery. And what he told me that day helped me catch a ton of fish up there. Look at that right there. Now, obviously, approaching a stranger at a grocery store is a bit of an extreme example. But you can ask people at tackle shops, people you see on the water, hell, even send an Instagram message. I try to respond to everybody who hits me up. Now, I wouldn't suggest asking for spots. To me, that's not the right way to go about things. But asking for advice or tips never hurts. Now, fair warning, there are some people who act like they're God's gift to fishing and don't want to tell you anything that could possibly help you. That's what us in the fishing business call an asshole. Now, this comes with a lot of strong opinions from pretty much everyone you talk to. But something that we can all agree on is number 8, find your go-to lures. There's no shortage of ads all over saying this lure catches the most fish, these lures catch the most fish, blah, blah, blah. For the sake of this video, I'll keep my opinions as to what's best out of it. You have to find your go-to lures. And unfortunately, that involves spending some money. So buy stuff, fish it, and find out what works. Everyone fishes differently, from the areas we frequent to the cadence of our retrieves. So cast a bunch of different stuff and find out what works for you. I'm running out of stuff to put mics on, boys. So all these that I've talked about are important, but this one might be even more important. Number 9 is you have to fish your seasons. Inshore fishing in Florida varies hugely with the seasons due to the changes in water temps, fish migrations, and weather patterns. I won't go into too much depth in this video, but here's the highlights for each season. In spring, warming waters bring bait fish close to shore, bringing those fish out of their backwater homes. This is a great time to hit your grass flats and your oyster beds in the bay. Summer offers a ton of action, but mostly in your mornings and evenings. Along with more fish activity, those big silver dudes start to roll around. In the summer, fish tend to hang out more near your passes, beaches, and inlets, but in all reality, the fish are all over the place during the summer. One thing I can't stress enough, go early and go late. The water temperature gets very high midday, and it tends to slow down the bite a lot. So try to get out when the sun's coming up or going down. Now in the fall, those fish are getting ready for winter, so they start coming back from the beaches, passes, and inlets. I like to hit shallow bays, muddy bottoms, and mangroves near backwater areas during the fall. Now during your transition periods, you try to find places between the fish's summer home and their winter home. Now that goes for both fall and spring. Now that brings us to the winter. It's a tough season for some anglers, but I've always enjoyed the challenges of the cooler weather. Now the water temps have dropped to their lowest all year. Oh, the water's cold. The bite will slow down considerably, but there's still fish to be caught. Now during the winter, you can find me mostly in the backwaters. I look for depth, muddy bottom, and sun-baked, wind-protected shorelines. Other great areas in the winter are docks and residential canals. You're looking for depth. Dude, as soon as I go to finish this video, there's a symphony of lawnmowers and weed eaters everywhere. Well guys, number 10, keep it short, keep it simple. I'm kind of tired of editing this video. It took a really, really, really long time, but I enjoyed it. It was fun. It just took a long time. Number 10, just have fun. Enjoy yourself. Don't take it too seriously. At the end of the day, we're all out there, throwing a piece of plastic at a little slimy animal that lives in water. If you're not enjoying that, why are you doing it? I mean, maybe tournament fishing, but even then, when I fish tournaments, I still liked it. It was fun. Anyway, I kind of skimped on number 10. This has been a beast. This has been a beast to edit. So, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I'm going to do more stuff like this. If you guys want to see stuff like this, drop a comment, be like, yo, dude, that was dope. Do more. So, hopefully somebody feels like that. At least 1 out of the 7 people that watch me. Big shout out to you, homie. Yeah. So, that'll do it. There's 10 things that'll help you on the water. And, I'm going to go eat. So, get out there. Don't get skunked. Remember these 10 things. And I'll see y'all next week.